statement, but I also want to confirm that I have engaged the Member of Parliament on this particular issue in his county, in our recent visit to the county, and I appreciate the engagement we had. Mr. Chair, and this, of course, I must answer for the record for Parliament. First, part one, Mr. Chair, the status of the investigations. On 29 December 2024, and on approximately 10:30 hours, a contingent of 23 Kenya Wildlife Service Rangers embarked on an operation to remove cattle and others who had allegedly settled inside Tsavo East National Park. During the operations, the Rangers encountered Isaac Abdullah Jarso, now deceased, his family and friends at his Manyata. When the Rangers attempted to arrest the deceased, an altercation ensued, escalating into physical confrontation between him, his friends, and the Rangers. This confrontation resulted in the fatal shooting of Isaac Abdullah Jarso. At 10:45 hours, the incident was reported to Garsen Police Station by the area sub-chief of Kone sublocation, Mr. Said Omar, via OP number 18/29/12/2024. Officers from the Kone Police Post responded promptly and found the lifeless body of Isaac Abdullah Jarso, a 42-year-old male lying in a pool of blood in his home compound. The body had gunshot wounds on the upper right thigh. Investigations commenced under inquiry number 4 of 2024 of DCI Delta, with officers documenting evidence at the scene, recovering 4 spent cartridges at the scene. The body was moved to Malindi Sub-County Hospital mortuary for preservation, where a post-mortem examination was conducted, confirming that the cause of death was due to gunshot-inflicting injuries. As part of the investigation, statements were recorded from the key witnesses, including the deceased wife, 2 friends who were with him at the time of the incident, and 2 brothers who arrived after being alerted about the shooting. Additionally, statements were taken from KWS Rangers involved in the operation. To facilitate forensic analysis, all the 23 rifles used by the Rangers during the operation were collected and escorted to the forensic laboratory in Nairobi for ballistic examination. The ballistic expert report is yet to be finalized. The inquiry file was forwarded to the Director of Public Prosecution via letter number, DCI SEC LCA /4/4/7 volume 11/92 dated 15 January 2025. In response, the ODPP, through letter referenced here, dated 14 February 2025, directed that several additional matters be established through further investigations, including the fire and ballistic report. The matter is still under active investigation by the DCI, and once concluded, appropriate action will be taken against anyone found culpable of the offense. Every effort is being made to expedite and conclude the investigation to ensure justice is served. Reasons for the shooting to death of Mr. Jarso. Mr. Chair, an attempt by the Rangers to arrest the deceased led to an altercation that escalated into a physical confrontation involving the deceased, his associates, and Rangers. During the scuffle, Isaac Abdullah Jarso was fatally shot. From the overview of the incident, it's clear that one or more of the KW officers may have been involved in the fatal shooting of Isaac Abdullah Jarso. However, investigations are ongoing to identify the specific officer responsible through a ballistic analysis to establish which specific firearms discharged the 4 spent cartridges recovered from the scene. Once the investigations conclude, our appropriate legal action will be taken against the KWS officers found culpable in the fatal shooting. Number 3, action being taken to prevent further confrontation between KWS personnel and herders. Measures being undertaken include enhancing coordination between security agencies, conducting joint sensitization forums with local communities on conservation laws and grazing boundaries, increase patrols in high-risk areas, promoting community policing initiatives to foster dialogue, build trust, and ensure peaceful coexistence between wildlife authorities and pastoralist communities. The last part, number 4, Mr. Chair, is the measures to enhance the good cooperation and relation between the law enforcement agencies, local communities, and other stakeholders. The National Police Service has instituted a comprehensive framework aimed at strengthening cooperation and fostering positive relations between the law enforcement agencies, local communities, and other stakeholders to prevent the escalation of conflict and ensure sustainable peace. Key interventions include A, strengthening community policing structures. The government is revitalizing community policing initiatives by establishing and supporting Nyumba Kumi clusters, community policing committees, and dialogue forums, and encourage continued engagement between officers and the public. Multi-agency collaboration of all the agencies and sister security agencies to working together. Number 3, civic education and public sensitization. I thank you, Mr. Chair.
Think to comment or?
Thank you, Chair. I'm not satisfied with the answers. Of course, the late Isaac Jarso was murdered in December. Till date is 4 months, Mr. Chair. The KWS, through a press conference or advert, the following day they accepted that they murdered the Isaac Jarso, and they sent a condolences message to the family. Those officers from DCI, they took those 23 guns the following week to DCI headquarters. Till now, Chair, is 4 months. Is there a problem at the DCI for ballistic tests? Because, Chair, those cartridges were found, the body was found, and those officers went on duty. They were known. You know, that's justice delayed. Justice delayed is justice denied, Chair. And the CS has not given the timeline when this will happen. The arrest will happen, Chair. So I think, you know, the family is crying for justice, and the people of Garsen, the same crying for justice. You know, the life lost, person killed in front of his family, wife and children. It's very sad. You know, he was a madrasa teacher, this guy. Very obedient. And then they said he was killed approximately 23 kilometers inside the park. There is a conflict of boundary. He's not killed inside the park. So, Chair, we want a satisfactory answers for the family and the people of Garsen so that those officers responsible can take into the court. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Waziri, I've listened to you and also I've read through the statement. I think that is why they say sometimes a local action can have a strategic effect, because when we are told that 23 KWS Rangers were going to arrest an armed civilian, and in the process he was fatally shot, I think the sums are not really adding up. And I think this is a clear case of travesty of justice, that the minister is wanting to do a good job or at his headquarters, but somebody at the ground is really trying to make sure that the laws of the land do not add up in the end. So for that reason, the only good thing they did from the beginning is to follow the law, that all those 23 guns were actually confiscated and they were taken for ballistic. That is the law. But I think even among those 23 rangers, there must have been a commander. They must have identified who shot this fellow. If there was even confusion, then it could be between 1 or 2 rangers. So for that reason, listening to Honorable Ali there and also your response, I think as a committee, what we really want to ask of you is the DCI must, within the shortest time possible, give us a clear indication of people who must come before the law. Because if up to now nobody is before the court, it simply means this is an incident that will slowly die, will lose trace, and at some point now, even files will disappear. So for that reason, I think the honorable member is very clear, and also you are very clear in your response. Please give us a timeline so that people must do their work. Thank you, Honorable Chairman.
Chairman, I also wanted to echo the same, that what is clear in this matter is that the KWS Rangers had a singular purpose in this case, to go and kill the person they intended to arrest. Because as the Vice Chair says, 23 guns, and somebody shot in his own compound. The matter has taken 4 months. It appears it is a strategy, more or less, so that, the matter cools, the public forgets, and then justice is lost. So, Chair, it is important that the Minister pushes the DCI, because there is no reason whatsoever why the DCI gotten for the bereaved family. It is important, Chair, that it is expedited. Otherwise, let it not be a strategy, because this is a very poor person, so that the family loses. Thank you.
Bwana CS, because I don't think there is no much really extremely very worrying. 4 months down the line, in fact, from your own report, it's a clear admission by the KNWS that, of course, they did shoot. The only question was, which gun discharged the bullet? And Bwana CS, you're aware, it is under your docket. We have been allocating a lot of resources to the DCI, to including the forensic lab, so that the issue of forensic and ballistic becomes speedy. So the easy conclusion here, it's not rocket science. Somebody somewhere must be trying to cover up. That is the only conclusion and reason you can give. So I want to direct us this so that we don't belabor on this. Kindly, Bwana CS, it was not just for formalities and that we call you and this statement was sought. Maybe you can tell us maybe how much time you need so that you up and give us a follow-up question, a satisfactory question that is convincing that justice is being done to this poor Kenyan. Kindly.
Mr. Chair, unlike many other cases, first of all, let me say that we need to appreciate that this was done expeditiously. For a file to leave DCI to DPP is not, it can show the goodwill in the first place, that the question of cover-up is not there. The desire for the DCI to make sure that someone is prosecuted was there. It's just that the DPP wants certain loose ends be tied together. And so the intention to prosecute this person is there. And I don't think there is room for cover-up, because what's all remaining is the ballistic report.
It's very crucial.
Which is very crucial, and it's not going anywhere because you can't hide anymore. There's nothing to hide. You have the spent cartridges, you have the process being undertaken by DCI. I also want to confirm that I visited DCI when I became CS in this ministry, like 2 months ago. Yes, February. Mr. Chair, you need to really still support the lab. The lab requires a lot of resources, not just the fiscal resources we are giving, not just the money to buy a lot of the laboratory equipment, but you also need retention of human resource so that they can be able to retain human resource at a certain level. You also know that we have so many cases involving guns across the country. So there's a long line of ballistic analysis on different crimes, banditry, robberies, and so forth across the country. And so this is part of it, of the process. So, and sometimes each one of them is urgent. All of them are urgent. The magistrate is demanding the report to be presented in this. The DPP is demanding a report. So I can give assurance to the public that in the fullness of time, this person will be charged. There is no escape route. Somebody somewhere will be charged. The same way I gave the same undertaking on the case of Nakuru, which was also involving KWS. Maybe at some point, we need to perhaps have a meeting with the Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife, and particularly the DG KWS, on disciplinary cases involving a number of the officers in KWS, not just in that area, but across, and how best that can be handled. You know, for the police, we have the internal mechanism within the police, and we have IPOA. So how do we handle the KWS? Do they have a mechanism internally to be able to deal with these officers? Do they even have processes of suspending these people until their case is concluded? So even if they have not been charged, they should be able to take internal disciplinary measures until you can prove that the specific officer was involved. Like every other Kenyan, it concerns me that 23 people went to arrest one person. There is no evidence that that person was armed with a gun, and that eventually, you had to use a gun for 23 people against one person. I think it's an armed individual. So in the presence of his family, I think it is a matter of justice, and we must be able to follow this issue to the ultimate conclusion. So, Mr. Chair, maybe in our next session, you can prompt me, even if it is on different issues. We can be, by that time, we should see how far we have gone. I do not also wish to, because the police and the DCI operates independently, and I cannot direct them, I do not also wish to give an undertaking that in 1 month it will be done. But using our good officers, we must be able to facilitate and push them to do so. But what we will not allow is a situation where there will be cover-up in the end.
So do we say, fair to say, in good time?
Why don't we revisit this issue again in another 3 months and say in 3 months we can give an update as to how far we've gone, and maybe at that point in time we can come with the DCI himself so that he can also express some of the challenges he's facing. But hopefully in those 3 months, both the case of Nakuru and the one for Tana River will have gone to court, because you can see also DPP was dissatisfied on certain issues. At some point, it will leave the DCI, it will go to the DPP and to make a judgment on the prosecution.
Anyway, while on that, so that I give Wario or Liz, you raise a very, very pertinent question on definitely the role of the IPOA versus the issue of gun rangers and other gun holders. Of course, their mandate is very limited to the police. And I think it's a conversation. I remember there is a bill being proposed by, I think, Senator Fobomet or something like that, try to expound the mandate of the IPOA to include the game rangers. Because even these rangers in the game reserves by the counties, I remember the CS, our very good CS here, we went to Narok to launch these rangers to be NPR. And they have got very sophisticated guns. And at times, the regulations around how these guns are controlled is not very good, Buenos Aires. And it's good to admit that. You can even able to do an investigation. They don't report to our police command. And at times, these gun holders, including the game rangers, they become a militia of governors. In fact, in my own county, it is almost akin to that. It's an issue that we may bring to attention very soon. They don't report to any command of the police. They just become a militia of a governor. Of course, I'm also interested to be one, but I'm not saying it's the right thing to do. So I think because it's not a subject of the day, it's an issue that we are considering as a committee, really, to have an engagement with the ministry on how we are going to farm up the loose end on the issue of these guns. So let's get really just a minute and Wario, so that we close this and go to the next. Yes.
And I really want to thank him because the other day he was in Nakuru, he was able to speak to the parents